Okay. Yeah, so I was doing my embodiment PSA on Instagram this morning, and I was talking about perfectionism, and especially within our bodies or how we express ourselves or what we let out into the world. Like, if we're working with too much perfectionism, it really clamps us down. It's kind of constipating. So just setting yourself a little bit more free, giving yourself more spaciousness to be imperfect, to not have to do everything wonderfully. And I feel like as we're working out, if we don't think of each movement as like, okay, this is exactly the right way, but if we feel into what it feels like, it gives us a lot more information. And I think like anytime we're working with somatics or being present with ourselves and our body, we're just paying attention to what's going on. We're not trying to fix it, make it perfect. It's not like this art form of, I'm going to make the most perfect thing in the world and then you get to see it. It's more like, oh no, I'm going to be really present with what's going on right now. And so the invitation today is to really feel into your own body as you're moving and really stay present with it so that your awareness is feeling each exercise, not the whole exercise as one thing, but each time you do a movement, like, what does it feel like now? What does it feel like now? So you're just coming into the question, right? As opposed to stamping this idea of what you should look like or feel like on the outside of it, but allowing yourself to really participate. All right, I'm just going to shut the doors. Squeaky Deaky is screaming around the house. Um, he's got that uh, Siamese in him, and I think Siamese are just really vocal cats. Like the Peapod barely ever talks, but Squeaky is just, that's why his name is Squeaky, because he's squeaking around the house all the time. All right, let's start with breath. Opening up, reaching out into the world, expanding your kinesphere. So, your kinesphere is your realm of movement, where you can move all around yourself. Inhale and exhale, let it go. Inhaling, opening, feeling your feet connecting to the floor, arms reaching up, and exhale. And one more inhale, lift. And this time, just shake it out. Shake, shake, shake. We're going to do a little bit of huffing and puffing. So the kind of pumping breath, just to get our lymphatic system going in that way. So instead of doing this lymph where we rub everything, we're just going to do some deep diaphragmatic breathing. And I suggest we so you're growing out into the width. And then we're going to do it up and down. And then we're going to do it forward, backward. I think I'm just going to reach into the front space. Am I? Now I'm going to reach into the front and back at the same time. So inhaling. And shake that out. Take hands on your belly. Take a deep breath down into your belly. Just an easy breath. One more. So that deep breathing where we're really huffing and puffing, it could be very easy just to do it up here. We want to try and get it all the way down into our bellies. So let's just do a couple more, like maybe one more round of doing that deep breathing, but try to bring it really into your belly and your back. Do not contract in on yourself. You're letting yourself really fill up. So taking that deep breath all the way down into your guts. So maybe for like 4 or 5. Here we go. Exhale. And you may feel that on that big exhale, you feel your abdominals kind of contract with that, letting out more air. So that's just one more type of breathing, right? Really active breathing that's going to upregulate us and give us some energy, as opposed to where we slow down the exhale and we downregulate and we calm and soothe and settle. Sometimes we just need energy. Let's spiral, twisting, looking around behind you. You probably don't want to do that kind of huffing and puffing deep breath, which is like akin to Wim Hof or Tumo breathing. Probably don't want to do that in the afternoon or evening, or like let's say within 4 or 5 hours of going to sleep. I did it the other day, 6 hours before. I did it with breath holds at like six. What time did I do it? Like 6 o'clock. I could not go to sleep. I was up beyond 1 o'clock in the morning, and that's not my normal pattern. So sometimes it really works. I'm in a lot of different breathwork courses and different breathwork groups with people, and sometimes people say, oh, you got to be really careful with breath work. And it's like, if you are attuned to listening to your body, then you just notice what's happening. Oh, I do this thing and then it upregulates me. I couldn't sleep that day, or I did this thing and then I was really calm and just couldn't get it together to do stuff either. Okay, let's, I'm getting a, oh, I'm going to take us down onto the floor. Sorry, I just got distracted by my texts. Oh, and I have a friend who's in Rocky Horror with me, who's another green witch. And she's like, oh, I know a bunch of herbs for the COVID stuff. So I'm going to talk to her afterwards. Side stretch. Yeah, for this, like just getting my immune system back on to, oh, I can still hear myself in the video. Here we go. Okay, and let's circle the whole way around. So you're going to start to one side, take it forward, around to the other side, and inhale, open. So let's make this really about spaciousness inside your body, reaching from the inner to the outer, letting your breath move with your movement, exhaling, circling around, opening it up. I can see the kittens right outside the door, which they're probably not going to come in, but they just, yeah. They know how to open a door to push it in, but they don't know the pulling part of opening a door. Oh, except for there he is, and that he came through the other door. Let's change direction, circling the other way. Maybe we were changing direction. What I really meant to say is let's change legs. There's some imperfection for you. Catching up with myself. What am I actually doing? Good. And then we're going to change it again. And this is for, again, really getting into our lungs. I think I need a tissue. Yeah, I'm either having post-COVID symptoms or allergies, which I wasn't having before. So I feel like it could be seasonal, but if our immune system is really working well, then we wouldn't have so many allergies. And we have a lot of capacity to affect our immune system through breath work, through movement. All right, so we're going to take it to the side, and you're going to hollow and round, and then inhale, opening up. So rib cage, lungs, heart, diaphragm, all in there, getting this movement. Inhaling as we open up and exhaling as we sort of surrender down to the ground. Inhale, open, and exhale. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. And then side stretch a little deeper and opening it up over to the other side. Exhaling down, inhaling up. Think of your movement like a tree blowing in the wind, right? We're not trying to make it all perfect and stiff and rigid. We're just mobilizing. We're letting the movement move through us. I think sometimes we think in fitness, I got to activate every muscle, but maybe just letting stuff move is a better way of tuning into that. So there's a sense of flow inside your body, sense of flow with your breath and movement. So it's not grippy. And then come a little deeper onto that side and open it up. And let's do, just gonna reorganize my mat. Let's come onto our butts, arms out to the side. My cameraman is just not doing his job right today. Here we go. Coming onto our butts. Let's do flexing your feet as you internally rotate the arms, and then feet down, open, and we're going to go through. So we're opening up the front, right? And so all of this work, I'm really focusing on getting the tissue of my lungs to move inside my body. Exhale. So we could say this spacious imperfection is creating space inside my lungs, space and movement. Non-graspy, non-rigid. Opening up, exhale, take it back. Inhaling, open. Exhale. Take it back. Inhaling. Exhaling. Inhaling. Exhaling. Changing it. Spiraling. Serving the sandwiches. Sandwiches. Sharing all your gifts with everybody. Even if the sandwiches aren't perfect. Here, are you hungry? Have a sandwich. Take it back. Inhale, open. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. Let's stay there. You're going to round your spine, flex your feet, drop your head, really pull back into the back body, into the back of your ribs, into the back of your spine, back of your neck. And then inhale, feet onto the floor, lift, arch, open it up, chest, lungs, and heart. Keep lifting through as if there's a little, this is like a hook in your lungs, lifting them forward and up. And exhale, flex, round, soften, and inhale, open, lift, and arch. So the invitation into our bodies, into our lungs, into our hearts, into our blood is to decalcify any plaque. I mean, maybe that's more in our bones, or I don't know, in our, but like taking away through movement and fluidity any kind of blocked stuff. And also through the lymph, right? The lymph is a detox, and we're really working that area. It's all coming back in through here so that we can clear it out, not holding on to stuff. Let's take it down to the floor. And really easy and relaxed knee drops from side to side. So every time, like when something happens to me, like, oh, I got sick or got injured or whatever, things happen, it becomes very curious to me because I just wonder, how shall I work with this? What's going to happen now? What's this going to feel like? So it becomes like, it's like my little laboratory of being in my body and going, how am I going to heal this? How am I going to work with it? Or like, what do I do to adjust if I've got something? So I was talking to the people in my Zoom room beforehand about one of my adjustments right now because I am kind of dealing with this. It's not long-term COVID, but this post-COVID sort of tiredness is I have to do less. So like I go to bed in the afternoon and lay there, and if I can't sleep, I at least read for a couple of hours. Come back in. But I'm really cutting out the extra stuff in my life. If I wasn't doing Rocky Horror, then I might not cut out as much. But because I know, like, oh, tonight I got to be at rehearsal, I need to make sure that I haven't spent all my energy in the first part of the day. So I got to do less. Hands down by your sides, circles as big or small as feels good to your body. I'm going to come up with pointed toes and I'm going to flex and open. And another thing to say, like this switch of energy for me, like coming out of COVID and also the switch of the seasons, is that it takes a lot for my body to adjust to the change of temperature, to the change of daylight. You know, as things are getting colder, it's easy to get tighter and more contracted. And, you know, we're like when you're cold, you're kind of holding tension about that. So just giving yourself a chance to adjust. Let's change direction. So I'm going to flex down this time and point as I go out and up. Flexing down, pointing out and up. Now, as I'm doing this, sometimes I'm lifting my head, especially as my legs go down, and then returning it to the floor. But I could leave my head up the whole time. That is an option. I could also leave my head down the whole time, working with a range of motion that feels good to you. And just imagining that you are strengthening the head of that femur in the hip socket, relax, and just building up that synovial fluid, the lubrication in the joints through that round movement. All right, we're going to internally rotate. So open your feet wide. You can take your arms up in a V shape, internally rotating one leg at a time, spiraling in. And you can think of that spiral going all the way up through your body. So it's not just, oh, my leg is getting the spiral, but we're feeling the connection from our knee up through our fingers. And then switch it to the other side. Or just keep moving. Like sometimes my body wants to be like just moving, moving, moving. And sometimes I want to hang out in a stretch, right? The movement is a good way to like release the outer layer of the tension. But as we've like let some of that go, then getting into the stretch and taking a little bit longer kind of can go deeper into creating inner space. Good. But then we don't want to stay like, now I've stretched my muscles. I don't want them to stay in that long space. I want to shake it out, and let them come back to neutral. So they're in the place where they can activate and get strong, or they can stretch, but they're not in one or the other of those spaces, right? We want to have a neutral that's very neutral. All right. If you have a block, grab your block. If you have weights, grab your weights. We're going to use them both. Although first we're going to use the block and then we'll use the weights. My block is in hiding because of the squeaker, the block destroyer. All right, so we're going to take the block this way between your knees, lower your hands down, lift your pelvis up, and walk your feet a little bit closer together so that you're squeezing your block, and you're just going to reach one leg out, fold it in, reach the other leg out, fold it in. So the idea is not to drop the block, but you're also not clamping the hell out of it, right? It's just there so it won't fall. A lot of women really activate their inner thighs all the time. If that's you, try softening that just a little bit. In our culture, in our society, there seem to be a lot of reasons to really clamp your legs together. However, you don't want to do that all the time. You want to have some balance in the muscles in the back, the sides, the top, the inner thigh, so that one set isn't over activating or over engaged. Good. Press up and circle your hips. Circling your pelvis could be big, could be small. Feeling into the movement in your whole body. So as I'm feeling through this, I'm feeling like, oh, I'm feeling my feet on the floor. Are they connected? I'm feeling my lower legs. Like, are they moving very much? I'm not really trying to stabilize them. Just having the block there is going to stabilize to a degree and then change direction and go the other way. And I'm also feeling how this movement in my pelvis is affecting my spine, my shoulders, my head. I'm letting my head move just a little bit. It wants to move away from my pelvis as I'm making these circles. So I'm allowing that internal adjustment. And then come in, take the block out, take it down. And let's go for a happy baby. Finding your happy baby, right? Listening in, feeling into your body as if it is you. Because guess what? It is. There is no separation between body and mind. They're both, it's like we could say two sides of the same coin, but then we're still looking at something that's kind of flat. Maybe to think more like a marble with swirls inside. I don't know. Just another image that is also a thing. So maybe something alive, right? We are alive inside our bodies, living tissue. It's given the right environment, we are moving towards health, right? We're always moving towards health. If we're eating the right stuff, getting sleep, doing all the things, less stress, right? How impossible is that? Let's roll back and forth, rounding through your spine. But when you think of like body mind as being a participatory, collaborative relationship with existing on the planet with all the other people and animals and trees and air and water and everything like that. When we're not objectifying ourselves, then it's, I don't know, seems like it's a lot healthier to me. Let's take it forward, a little quick Baddha Konasana, let go, surrender, head, neck, shoulders, and jaw, soft and easy. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of my movement practices are so that I feel good, so that I can do the things I want to do. so that I feel connected to myself, right? Not that I'm going, oh, this is all wrong. I have to fix that. Oh, if only that was more like this. And I have been in ballet, so I spent a good portion of my life not thinking my body was okay, right? But now I'm kind of like, I don't feel like I'm not up for that perfectionism. I'm like, you know what? My body is awesome because it's my body and I love it just because I'm in relationship with it. Not because, oh, it's so great and wonderful, but so because I like love it like my child. Like, it's so weird because it's me. It's self-love. That's a good thing. Let's bring our knees together, internally rotate your feet so you're pigeon-toed and knock-kneed. And then you're going to take your weights and circle around your body. Inhale, open, exhale, making this big circle. You can feel into the center of your body as your arms are circling around the periphery. So we have this core distal relationship in movement. And yeah, we're letting ourselves, again, we're moving that diaphragm. We're moving the lungs. Change direction, other way. Exhaling up, inhaling down. So I just changed my breathing entirely because my breath was lasting longer. So the main thing is don't hold your breath in tension. If you're doing deliberate breath holding, that's fine, but don't do it because you're not aware. If you're doing breath holds, great, but you need to be aware that that's what's going on. You're doing it on purpose. All right, we're going to take the weights in our hands, take them up. Let's just do some flies here, just opening up, feeling the edge, bringing them back up, opening wide, bringing it in, feeling that connection of the arms from your hands through your forearms, through your upper arm, through your rotator cuff and your deltoids into your upper chest, right? Feeling that connection through your body. And then we're going to change it. You're going to take your hands down, just up over your head. If you have any kind of issues and the range of motion is problematic, then make it smaller or bend your elbows a little bit, right? So anytime we make the length of the arm a little shorter, it'll be easier. The other thing I want to do here is change the relationship of my hands to each other. So right now my hands are facing the floor, and I'm just going to keep that same rotation in my arm for a couple of these. I'm letting my head come off the floor. Now I'm going to turn them so my hands are facing each other. 2 of those. And then I'm going to take them so my hands are facing up. A couple of those. You may want to do this with a really light weight or no weight at all, but getting that shift in the relationship of our arm into our body is going to be more three-dimensional, right? So our fascia, which is holding us together, which is like the internal living knit three-dimensional sweater that's holding the whole form of your body. When it gets to move in these more three-dimensional ways, like right where we're changing all of this, I'm giving it more possibility. It just makes it healthier. If we don't move very much, like if we're couch potatoes, the fascia in our body becomes less organized and it's more like felt or boiled wool, where it's all like weird and disorganized. But when we move regularly and we hydrate tissue and we allow the fascia this really three-dimensional movement where we're moving in all these different ways, then we are kind of like taking that three-dimensional tensegrity system and just giving it more space. If you've ever been to the chiropractor, I'm sure they have one of those little, I can't remember what it's called, one of those little balls that then opens out and closes back in, right? It's a system of tensegrity, right? So it means that, oh, if something's pulling here, it's going to affect the whole system, right? And that's how we are inside. Like one little weird scar can, and like a piece of connective tissue that's kind of like felted is going to affect other parts of your body. There's going to be a pull there, and it could show up in like I could have a something going on in my knee, and it's showing up in my opposite shoulder, right? So just thinking of our body as a wholeness pattern, not a bunch of separate things. All right, let's go with one leg and then the other, one coming in, one going out, switching 3 times. This is 2. This is 3. We're going to circle them out, opening up, changing. The other leg is in. 1, 2, 3, and circle open. I'm going to point for the changes. 1, 2, 3. Flex open. Point 1, 2, 3. Flex open. Point 2, 3. Flex open. Point 2, 3. Flex open. Your head can come down to the floor if it's putting too much tension in the back of the neck or shoulders, or the front of the neck and shoulders, or it can come up. Either way is fine. Again, we're working this core distal relationship all the way out to our toes. We could think of that as center to periphery. And then just relax. Shake it all out. Let it go. Have a little freedom in your body. Arms, legs, spine. Free it up. Shake it out. Shake it out. Shake it out. And let's roll from side to side. So you're going to take it onto one side, really relaxed, open, and roll over to the other side. Letting yourself just surrender into gravity. Thinking of your bones as very dense and strong. And as you're rolling across, the bones are drawing down towards the earth, grounding our energy. And as we're also rolling across, the water in our body is also moving towards the earth. So we're feeling that relationship down to the ground. Bones very strong, very alive. Fascia, muscle, all that stuff also very fluid and alive. And we're going to open all the way out through the center and fold and bring it in. So as we're opening, we're growing out into the outer world, and we're coming back in into our inner world, radiating away from center, drawing it back in, radiating out into space, and folding it back in, and letting your feet do whatever they want, and hands too. So we have this relationship, core distal, center to edge. Why do I want to have that center to edge relationship? A big part is so that my body, my nerves, my nervous system, and my blood flow, my lymphatic, all the things are reaching out into the edge of my body and coming back in, right? Hands and feet, toes and fingers are the farthest away from the heart. They're also the farthest away from the brain. So our nervous system, our blood flow has to work harder to get out there. So if we have some awareness, if we've connected the body-mind in with our hands and feet, there's going to be better patterning inside our body. We'll be more integrated. So let's take a little heel rock, sending a wave of movement up and down through your body. Relax your neck, jaw, face, easy and loose. Free up the wave. So I can kind of keep thinking of layers of, oh, let go of this, and then I can let go a little bit more and the wave gets bigger. And let it go. And that exercise, actually, for that to really be fluid in your body, it can take a long time to let go. Most exercises telling you how to hold on. Not so much exercise in typical fitness is telling you how to let go. And I mean, sometimes I think what works in fitness is we work so hard, holding, and then, oh my God, it's over now, I can let go. But it might be nice to try and see if you can find some of that let go patterning in the workout, not when you're done, right? So that there's this balance of what our bodies do. One is engaged, we get strong, we can do our things. Another one is just be really easy in the flow. And then we can also stretch out and be flexible and have mobility. Like all of those things kind of tie up together. Mobility and flexibility aren't necessarily the same thing. Mobility is the capacity to move. You know, I can move easily. I've got mobility. Or I can really stretch out. There's my flexibility. I can open that up. And they go together, but they're not the same thing. I'm like having the major teaching day today. Anyway, that's what's happening. Yeah, in my, I don't know, whatever, my dharma, my pattern of being me is a teacher is a huge part of that. But it's also because I'm a learner, because I like to learn. So let's circle pelvis, thinking, yeah, the strong bones of your femur, your thigh bone up into your hip socket. Your spine has some fluidity. Your spinal cord, like a river, not like a column. We aren't buildings. Change direction. And we're not machines, we're alive. And so living tissue, fluid bodies are very, very different than any kind of metal or even metal oil, all that stuff. Like it's not the same. We're not like a car. Although we love to use those models of like, oh, the computer of my brain or the machine of my body, but we're not. We're not. We are biomorphic, organic. Let's come onto our forearms, and you're just going to push forward and backward. Head reaching forward, heels reaching back, feeling into your body, body scanning as you're doing the work. And then take it down. So it's always really easy to feel injuries, but can we start to feel what feels good and what feels open as well? So we're going to take this Sphinx position. My elbows are directly below my shoulders, right? I'm just going to push forward and backward with that. So as I'm pushing and pulling, I'm kind of firing up pecs and lats. Pecs, lats. Ha. Okay. Then we're going to drop our head, look down towards your pubic bone, round your spine, curl, and then lower your pubic bone, roll it up through your spine. Once you get there, you're going to pull with the arms and lift the legs. Head drops. Curl, roll it down. Pelvis drops. Arch and lift. Head drops. Curl, roll. You can push with your arms. Pelvis drops. Roll it up the front and head drops. Roll, looking towards your pubic bone. So my knees are bending slightly, but I'm not bending my knees to lift my butt. Like it's just happening because I'm rounding my spine. And then curl and roll and relax it down. Wag your big fluffy tail. Or maybe your tail's not fluffy. Just release your back, let your quads massage out. Feel your feet. And then come in, tops of the feet to the floor. And let's do this. I haven't done this in a while. So you're going to take your hands, they're going to spiral up, and then they're going to spiral up this way. So palms up, they come through, and palms come up in front. You may get higher, and if you feel like it, you can lift your legs as your arms go up. So if you were really rocking this, which may or may not feel good, if you've eaten, don't do it. Ugh. It's like the exercise in Pilates called the swan. Like that just feels horrible in my body. So if things feel horrible, maybe don't do them. This one I have a mixed relationship with. Like I can make it so it's not too bad, but it also feels kind of fun and exciting to get that rolling up. All right, hands next to your hips or your chest. Arch up if you want to, bend your knees. Ha. Toes to head. Imagine you're 6 years old and just rest your head in your feet and relax. Take it back. Child's pose. Breathe, wiggle around, easy and loose. Free up your spine. Free up your shoulders. Free up your arms. Let go. Relax your lower back. Take a big, deep breath all the way down into your pelvis. So just to be clear, when I say take a big deep breath down into your pelvis, you're just letting your breath go deep. Your diaphragm is pushing down. The actual lungs are not going into your pelvis. It's so funny when you teach what becomes annoying when you hear other people's cueing. Like some people are really literal, some people are really, I don't know, because this is what happens. I become very, like I listen to things, I'm like, oh, why did they say that? Then that's my perfectionism coming out, right? Can we just not worry about that too much and just get into the movement? So, yeah, I did want to talk about the lungs a little bit more. So there's like 3 lobes of the lungs. I feel like there's 3 lobes on one side and 2 on the other. I was just looking at something on Institute of Human Anatomy on YouTube, who I love. They're great. They do lots of interesting stuff. So if you're curious about stuff, look at their channel. I'll put them into my description. And also Gil Hedley, of course, is fantastic, and you can follow him here too. So Gil Hedley was talking to Leslie Kaminoff, who's a big breathing person, and Leslie was talking about our lungs. Like 60% of our lungs are in the back of our body. So like we have the front. Yeah, I feel like there's the side that you have your heart on, and there's too much stuff in there. So it's two lobes. I could be wrong. There could be three on both sides, but I had always thought there were two lobes. Now I didn't realize there were actually three. So our backspace has more lung in it. Like our diaphragm, if you feel where your ribs are, from here in the front, right, they're going down to the back. And our diaphragm is pretty much along that pathway of the edge. So you can see that in the front, it's kind of coming up, and in the back, it's going down. So our diaphragm isn't here like an umbrella going up and down. It's more on an angle doing this, right? So we have more space in the back of the lungs. So feeling the breath into the back of your body, and then feel the breath into the front of your body, right? Like I have often don't breathe up into here because I already have boobs and I'm already trying to minimize them. So I'm like, not going to breathe and stick them out, right? So everybody has their different holding patterns of how we present and how we show up, but just knowing what's possible in the lungs. The lower lobes of our lungs, the deep parts of our lungs, take most of the oxygen into our bloodstream. So we want to breathe deep. If we're breathing shallow, we're going to be more anxious and more upregulated. But anxiety and excitement are close to each other, right? Sometimes it's fun to be up there. All right, let's do some side stuff. Oh, my screen is frozen 28 minutes ago, but clearly it's back on. I know. My internet, I probably need to turn it off and turn it back on because I know I've been freezing a lot. Let's press it up. I hope I wasn't like looking stupid. Just kidding. Everybody looks stupid when they're frozen on screen. Pressing up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Take it down. You're going to flex both feet, and we're just going to go up, point down. 1. So both legs are turned out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right down below you, 9, 10. Now we're going to turn them both in. This is going to be weird. Just keeping both legs turned in, small ones up and down. 1, 2, see if you can keep that bottom leg turned in. 3. You can use your hand for balance. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Come into parallel. Let's take our legs forward for the Pilates pike. I'm going to take this hand down. This hand is going to go in the opposite direction, and I'm going to get some really contralateral movement through my body, cross body movement, getting that spiral. So I'm not stabilizing, I am mobilizing. Long and connected. Last one. And let's come in. Just roll over onto your back. Give it all a shake. We'll stretch it out in a minute. And we're going to come up over to the other side. I feel like this should be the exercise, and it might be what we're going to do in a minute, just this movement from side to side. Yeah, a lot of times when I'm teaching in gyms, people have no problems doing the exercise. They have a lot of problems just moving in the transition. And really, that's what our life really is. Our life isn't like the exercise. Our life is a bunch of transitions all stuck together. Press it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Long spine. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Take it down. Head in your hand, legs straight down below you, turned out. So if I was in the pike, I'd be here. I want to have this openness in the front of my hips where my legs are really balanced in the front and the back going down. Up and down. 1, flexing and pointing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Turn it in, both sides. 1, 2, Oh, it's hard on the bottom. 3. Try to keep your hips square to the front. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and let that go. Into the pike. Bottom hand down. Top hand forward, leg back. So arm and leg on one side of your body are going in opposition, which creates a contralateral pattern, cross body movement. Torso is spiraling. Use your breath. Last one. Good. Let's take it onto our back. And we'll just stretch out both sides. So I'm going to go knee over knee today, grabbing my ankles, drawing them in. And I can kind of line my spine up along the floor, or I can round my spine and draw it in. When I round, I get more of a stretch in my in my hips. And then if just for a challenge for your brain, try circling your ankles in one direction and then circle them the other way. And then release, shake it out, change it to the other side. Rounding or not, depending on what you're feeling, and then circling. Oh, yeah. The only way I can do the circles is if I just think about one of my feet. If I think about both of them, they become very non-circular. Try both directions. And then release. And let's do that exercise that I was talking about. So what you're going to do is you're going to roll onto your side. You're going to push the floor away and come up and take it down onto your other side and bring it in. So you're putting your legs out in front of you, you're coming up and you're coming down onto your side. Coming up and coming down. And just seeing, can this be easy? Coming up and coming down. So there's a lot of ways I could do it. I could initiate by sort of rolling up sideways, and then head is going to take me back down. Try that on the other side. So I'm going to stick my legs out. Then I'm going to let my butt connect to the floor. My rib cage goes up. I'm leaving my head behind. That is one way. And then I could also go push and come up and through and take it down. So coming here, lifting my head, pushing up, and then coming down. I feel like the one that feels best for me is to straighten out my legs, start to bring my butt to the floor, maybe pushing, but leaving my head behind, coming up over the top and letting my head lead the way and just dropping me back down. That's what feels the most efficient in my body. Legs out. I'm going to take my butt to the floor, and it might be different from side to side. Good, that's all we're going to do with that. But just thinking about it, like how we roll around and do things, like this is mobility practice, right? Just moving around. How am I going to get from here to there? Can I do it in a different way? So let's just do one more thing that we've been doing a lot lately, and that is these just knee drops. First to roll out your butt. So you're massaging through your glutes and rotators, maybe the back of your hips. So I am really curling my spine to get into this. Like I'm not doing it up here, but I'm rounding into it and softening. And then you can also, when you're in there, kind of like move. So all the tissue is moving, right? I'm using the floor and moving my body to create shear instead of just rolling through it. Same thing on the other side. And that could go forward, backward, up, down, side, circling. Feel into the tissue and feel what feels good. Like, oh, there's something kind of tight in there. If I move this way, I feel it release a little bit. Or I just become aware of it. Maybe that's even enough. All right, we're going to spiral, take it down to the floor. Surrender, and then push the floor away. Paint the rainbow around you. Oh, and take it back down, surrendering to the floor. Pressing up, opening it up, spiraling, taking it down. Yeah, so I am feeling in my body that I have done a lot. I'm like, okay, this doesn't have to be my biggest strength building day today. This doesn't have to be everything. So we're going to come in and just end with a hip stretch. I'm going to do ankle to knee pose, um, which is like this. In a perfect world, this ankle would be right under this knee and they'd be stacked on top of each other. But the one tight area in my body, or the two tight areas, my hips are tight. So softening into it. You could also do this with the bottom leg straight. Breathe. And then when you're ready, come up. We're going to do stretching toward the top leg, toward the bottom leg. If you're just seeing Peapod and you aren't familiar with her, she's a Manx cat, so don't freak out. Nobody cut her tail off. That's what it looks like. Circle one way, spiral the other way. And then undo it and come back in. And apparently Manx cats, like there are Manx cats that have almost no tail, and then there's ones like hers is kind of a medium little stogie, and then I think it's a little bit longer than that too. And as a cause of her having that little tiny tail, her walking is very different than the other cats. She like kind of has this funny little thing that she does that the other cats that have longer tails to help balance them out, they do not do that. All right, other leg on top. Which one is the other leg? I don't even know. Is it this one? Yes. Taking it down, breathing into it. Use your breath to create space inside your body. So breathe really deep into your body. As you exhale, see if you can release into that space. So each breath makes a little more space inside. Each exhale, you can drop into it just a little bit more. And then come up, stretch it over towards the top leg, and then towards the bottom leg. Spiraling one way, spiraling the other way. And bringing it in and unscrambling, banging out your legs, letting them come back to a neutral that's really relaxed. Yeah, give them a little whack if that feels good. You could also be gentler. Get the tissue in your legs to move around. Let's just do this one calf release, which is really minor, but it helps a lot. I'm just taking, so here's my tibia, and I'm just taking my hand sort of behind the bones and giving a little hit on either side. So I want the flesh of my calf to move really easily. So this is going to be good for your gastroc, your soleus, your Achilles tendon, right? We want that stuff to be soft, alive, easy, and also that it like from muscle to muscle, they're not gummed up against each other. We want to have little sliding surfaces between. That will increase their mobility so that you're not going to tear your Achilles or something like that. Let's go with the last thing here. You're just going to take your one hand like a little saw down at the base of your Achilles like this, and just work your way up your calf. So, a lot of times, and this is also working from distal to core, right? Down to up. Often we're taking things down, down, down. Nice to bring it back up and in. So getting into the back of that Achilles and all that connective tissue in the back of the calf, right? Same thing on the other side, starting with the hits on either side, just seeing how much tension you're holding. If your calf's not moving at all, there's a lot of stuff going on in there. You might want to roll if you aren't getting any. Get on the foam roller, roll them out. And don't just roll in one direction, like roll this way, roll up and down, try and get the shear so it moves. Yeah, and then let's go with the little saw up the back. And my saw isn't just going back and forth, it's kind of making like an ellipse as I work through that, right? We don't want to have any kind of tearing in the back of our calf and our Achilles, and we want to have, mobility in our feet. And so there are muscles that are connecting into your toes and coming back in and connecting up here, right? So The mobility of our foot is very much in relationship with our calf and our shin, this whole area. All right, let's take our feet underneath us, knees forward, and then heels back, moving through that squat if you've got it. Yeah, squatting with your heels on the ground, the ancient art of being able to go to the bathroom in the woods. And then taking your butt up to the ceiling, open your feet wide and shift from side to side, bend one knee, bend the other. But squatting is really healthy for us, right? Just being able to be here, it's going to release our lower backs. Also, inner thighs, hip. Yeah, we get a lot of different stuff happening in that. Let's roll it all the way up and come back in to the beginning with the breath. Inhaling and opening, reaching out into your kinesphere, just feeling into your body what it feels like now compared to when you started class. Inhale, open, reach. And I'm also, you can't really see it as my feet are cut off, but I'm also pressing up. So I'm getting that whole spring of my whole body. Up and down. Working a little bit on balance as well, right? If I'm up on my tippy toes, I got to work a little bit more on balance. It's one thing I will say for ballet that, I mean, there's a lot of good things from it. It's not all just horrible perfectionism. There's a lot of good things that you can get from doing it. And one of them is balance, like you're working on balance. So, yeah, there's definitely that. All right, people in TV land, if you are watching this stuff, please consider supporting it